Oh, thank God. My favourite Cube game has just added Cube Chicks, and they're the right type this time, as part of 26.1, which is the name of our first drop of the year for both Bedrock and Java, and now that we've seen our first features, I think it's very clear they want to update the creatures, but what will come next, both in terms of baby mob design and how they make fishing fine, because now if you fish, trade, or loot name tags, it probably seems a bit pointless. Well, after the first big reveal, let's talk about what we now expect from this drop for real, because hello, I'm AbYeX and you can subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Minecraft news and discussion just like this. But let's get started with the most important part of the video, which sadly is the disclaimer that obviously we are talking about the future of an update that is in development. I think it is fun to speculate, but this is technically speculation. We will be seeing in future Tuesdays exactly what is coming, and you can just subscribe to see that if you want to see full facts only. But I think it's interesting to look at, say, the new baby mobs. Minecraft just updated a lot of mobs to add babies, namely all of the cat variants, all of the dog variants, all of the rabbits, all of the chickens. Look at these guys. They definitely are connected at the right point with leads. I think we can all agree. But what's interesting is that they've clearly just gone through with this, and now comes the big question I think is worth asking. Is this just all of the baby mobs that they're going to do in this update? Is baby mobs one part of the drop? Or, just like how they've referenced the Spring to Life drop, that was a drop that started by giving us just custom pigs, and then later gave us custom chickens for each of the 3 biomes, hot, cold, and neutral, just like how we have baby chicks here. And then we got the same with cows, and we never got the same with sheep besides colors. But what's interesting is it possible that just like how that's how they did Spring to Life, which they referenced when talking about this drop, is it possible that this drop started by giving a remodel to the rabbit and baby rabbits, and a remodel to all of these 10 separate mob babies, including, again, there's so many baby cats they had to change, and they're all just so adorable, it's crazy. But is it possible that in the exact same way they decided to do that, is it possible that instead of just bug fixing the existing ones we've just seen, that they decide to go for more baby mob redesigns? I think the answer seems like a very likely yes, and so then that raises the question of which of these would be most likely. Well, I decided to go straight to the Minecraft wiki for naturally aging Minecraft mobs that exist on the Bedrock version, and you get this giant list. And to be fair to the wiki, they're really good. They've updated it to include all of the mobs from yesterday already, but if we shorten that down to include mobs that have been updated and exclude those, we get 28 separate mobs, 2 of which are duplicated between Bedrock and Java. By the way, isn't it wild? On Java, the baby villagers are just full-size villagers, but tiny. They are making a very big point about, you know, the way that you age over there, apparently. But as you can see, these are 26 different mobs, which is wild to then look at the Camel Husk being a Java Edition exclusive too. These are the 25 separate mobs, therefore, in my opinion, that I think make the most sense for Mojang to come in and give an update to. Do you remember how they updated the horse and the mule and the donkey to make them not grow slowly? That could be because they have a new model in store. I think that seems almost incredibly likely, so those are our first easy mobs. Is it likely then that the llama and the baby trader llama, what is that even doing here, and the baby goat come next? Is it possible that they focus on friendly mobs? Or is it entirely possible that they go the opposite way and they say, yeah, a baby hoglin actually is a pretty cool idea? Or like, you know what, a baby, we've got not that many hostile mobs here, but what about, for example, the hostile mobs that do not age naturally? That gives us this list here. Obviously, baby dolphins would be cute, but what about baby piglins getting their own design, baby drowns, baby skeleton horses, baby zombies, and baby zombified piglins? I think that that would be a really cool direction to take this drop in, but if they were to do that, it'd be committing to making it the baby mob drop, whereas if they instead focus on just the friendly mobs in the world, 1, more people can appreciate them, and more people can decide to name these mobs, thanks to the name tag changes, but 2, crucially, it would be able to keep the workload a lot lighter. I think that baby zombies are kind of iconic. Even if it's just like you've never used, even if you play Peaceful, you probably know about how Philza died. Rest in peace to his hardcore world. But like, baby zombies are an iconic mob. The same is true for everything else. Is it just like how they probably could never update the creeper texture, that they could never get around to updating baby zombies? I think the answer is a hard maybe. And that's the fun thing about this discussion. Do you think that Minecraft could update certain mobs? And indeed, could they even add different variants? Just like how we've seen a billion different skeleton and zombie variants, could they go as far as to not even just update the models for things, but add, say, a new baby variant for the spider? I mean, the cave spider exists, but what about the creeper? A baby creeper would be wild, but it's something that, I mean, if we have the charged creeper, which is basically the big daddy adult creeper, why not have the baby creeper Well, there's lots of good reasons, but what I can say is that the second clear phase that Minecraft needs to look at with this update, or drop as we're going to call it, the second clear thing they're going to need to do over the next couple of months is look at how they've changed name tags. Because after all, what's the point of having a brand new baby cat, goat, or dolphin if you're not going to be able to name it? And so Mojang implemented part 3 of their plan to get people mounting more with crafting recipes in the first beta. This is because they started with the lead recipe change. It used to require a slime ball, which was at least mid-game. Then they changed the saddle into a craftable item from being previously loot only, and indeed sometimes from a drop, and now the name tag has become craftable, which is obviously a good thing. And yes, I'm excited that mining a single block of copper will get you the resources you need for 45 name tags. That seems entirely proportionate and reasonable. I mean, if you think that name tags should be limited by XP and not resources, which is a fair argument to me, but it then leaves us with a giant hole in the loot tables for 3 separate areas of the game. Now, obviously the monster room is the one that I think everyone is going to jump to. This is a classic structure, which technically, I need to be politically correct with you and say is called the monster room. I think myself and many others call this the dungeon, but this is actually a misunderstanding of what Notch meant when he said dungeon. Fun fact, you don't need to know or care about that, but you do need to know or care about the fact that in those dungeons, you used to be able to search for name tags and saddles. Now you'll just craft them, and indeed the same is true for fishing. You used to be able to go fishing to get these things. Now when you get a name tag, it's just going to be, oh, a single nugget and a piece of paper. How exciting. And the third and perhaps biggest area is that trading used to be somewhat valid for name tags. Villagers used to be able to ask pretty high prices in emeralds, and now this trade has gone from maybe worth considering to an absolute ripoff that no one ever will buy. So that leaves a giant hole in the game, what the name tag used to fill, that has to be filled by something else. I am a little worried that Mojang are under their current, gung-ho strategy of early game, early game, early game, don't fill the holes, but I think that in the same way that if you made diamonds accessible from spawn, which they did do in 1.13 and 1.14, you have to then add something to replace it at the top of the game, which they did in 1.16. I think it's the right call to look at, say, saddles and name tags and say, wait, why were these mid-game items anyway? Surely you want to saddle a horse the first time you find one. Mojang have made an absolutely right call there, but they are leaving giant holes in these other loot tables, and I think that this is arguably something that has been also, I would say that they've made more and more holes in the late game with things like the enchantments anyway. It used to be that certain enchantments, namely Frostwalker and Mending, you had to obtain from treasure or from fishing, and then they made it tradable, and it meant that no one did those other 2 things anymore. So if they think that there's no change to monster rooms, no change to the way that you fish, and no change to villager trading, then they've actually just made all of those mechanics poorer. I don't think that we'll see a perfect one-to-one replacement, but I would compare this to bundles. They added bundles to the game as an early game way to organize your inventory, rather than just giving shulker boxes an early game recipe, because that would have devalued that late game phase. I think that if they were to give shulker boxes to early game players, you'd have to give something way more valuable to late game ones. And so what are they going to do with this? Well, if you ask me to come up with theories off the top of my head, these aren't going to be great ones, and to be fair clear, I think that there is just a space here, but if the ideas of things to fill it could be stuff like cosmetics. So right now, horse armor still isn't craftable, probably intentionally. What if you could get enchanted horse armor? That could be a fun thing that's worth going naturally for. Or, how name tags are kind of used as a cosmetic, like a bit of a flex value. What if you could get, just like how horse armor exists for horses, you could get like a bow or something that you can put on any pet mob, something that would just make it clear that you went through some cool exploration. I think that people love cosmetics, and the marketplace is weirdly proof of that more than anything else. And speaking of cosmetics, did you know you can buy some IBX Toy Cat cosmetic DLC? My Creo card is available for just 3 more days now. I had this artwork commissioned by a real human artist to celebrate the fact that we just hit 13 years in the Let's Play, and we made it into this collector's edition card, which will come with an exclusive sleeve. There is a maximum of 1,000 that can be created, and every single one of these will be hand signed by me. If you want to get your hands on this, there'll be a link down below. You are running out of time to do so, and that is also what Mojang might believe is true when it comes to parity. So after after mentioning our card, which I absolutely love, I need to mention what I think is the third pillar for what we're likely to see over the next couple of updates. And I say couple of updates because I did do a simplification for the start of this video. I said that 26.1 was the name of the first drop for Minecraft this year, but actually it's 26.10 for Bedrock, and actually it's not the first update that Bedrock will be getting. Bedrock will be getting the 26.0 update first, and this is one you need to be excited about, if only because it finally brings subtitles to the game. So much of Minecraft Bedrock has spoken about accessibility, but they've ignored the most important part of it, that has what I describe as the curb cut effect. It has a benefit to players who are, actually, hearing impaired, but also it has a benefit to everyone else as well. Subtitles are coming to Minecraft, and that is incredible, but I think that parity is probably going to be a broad aim of the first drop of the year, and so that brings us into the interesting question of so what exactly do they still need to bring parity to? If you don't play Bedrock, you might look at the game and say oh yeah, it looks mostly like Java besides a few interesting design decisions, but obviously I think that the one big issue that still remains on the cards is combat. I would be shocked if they said that, yeah, this is the baby mob drop and also the update where we give you sword delays, so I think it's very unlikely they bring full combat in here, but I hope that we see even more of that pre-progress to making it happen. We've seen them do all sorts of changes to the offhand, we've seen them make all sorts of changes to the ways that you hold items, and I think that this is an important step if they are going through all of the work of revamping major game elements anyway. Hopefully they revamp everything they need to make sure that we can actually get a major combat drop, if not right now, then later this year. But as far as 26.1 or 26.10, if you're a Bedrock pleb and need a 0 at the end like me, well, what's interesting is that one of the big things we saw yesterday that is very, very niche and being A/B tested is a brand new menu design. So as far as I can tell, the smaller UI scale is something that the update itself brought. So if you notice the hotbar being smaller and menus being smaller, that is now something that is extended to all Minecraft players as opposed to just people who are playing on 4K or at least 1440p. That is a great improvement. Minecraft's menus will now get smaller. One of the big complaints we always have as non-mobile players is why does it have to look like a mobile game? Why do you have to try and trick us like it's a mobile game? Mojang, please respect us here. And so it's good to know that they're doing a little bit of that, but also we're seeing the design, while we're talking about parity here, we get that. I want to use this as the opportunity to mention that we're going the exact opposite way with menu design. The new Bedrock menu looks really interesting to me, but we do have to point out, one, this is probably even many more months away, even though it's in the beta and preview right now, and two, the fact that it is very different to Java, both in terms of form and in terms of function, which I just think is an interesting place that leaves us at the final junction, which is working out exactly what the overall theme will be. I mean, so far we've seen two major sets of features, the name tag change, the baby mob changes, and then what you might describe as the kind of miscellaneous extra stuff, but what does this all come together to be? I mean, so far we've seen three major features. The menu and the parity changes are kind of always happening in the background, but the baby mobs and the name tags really tie in together, I think it's clear, especially when you think about how the baby mobs that they've updated first all seemingly have been the pet mobs. That is to say, these are the mobs that most players might conceivably have as a pet, especially young players or even just nostalgia style players. Minecraft is aiming at that very casual audience by then making it easier to get name tags. The number of these you can get so easily now is great, and also another use for sugarcane farmers like myself. Wow, I've suddenly changed my opinion there, but I think that there is a real big move towards making Minecraft cuter, and so is this the super cute update? Is this what you might call the baby boom drop or the baby baller drop? Well, I think that this is a really interesting question that we could talk about forever, but until we see more of a agenda here, I think that it's harder to say for sure. But what I thought was really interesting was Lady Agnes referencing last year's spring drop when talking about what she was doing this time. And when you think about it, it really is true. Last spring, for the Spring to Life drop, they decided to go in and say, yeah, let's update some of the mob models so that there's more variety in your Minecraft world. Let's update some flower models so there's more variety in that part of your Minecraft world. And so could they be doing the same thing again? In the same way we just got slightly different flower variants, are there now going to be more things you can do with the existing flowers or new flowers entirely? I've always felt it's kind of weird when looking at the different flowers and which dyes you can get, that certain ones aren't available, for example. Is Minecraft Minecraft going to look at that, or are they going to look at doing entirely other, things there? I think that it's hard to say for sure, but I think the most interesting little tidbit that I wanted to save here till last is that is Mojang starting to see each spring drop as being related to each other? Because, hear me out here, the only drop that we've seen properly duplicated so far, that is to say, drops started with the winter drop of 2024, and so now we've seen a full year plus that, and now we're seeing our 6th drop. But if we see that there are common trends between these, then it might be that, yeah, every 3 months, it's not just another drop, but instead maybe each season will have some consistent theme. Every, spring, maybe they'll come back and update some older part of the game, particularly when it comes to cutification or mobs. Maybe every winter they'll go into, like we've seen twice in a row now, this idea of adding a new form of actual challenging mob. We saw the creaking in winter of 2024, and then we saw the zombie Nautilus drowned. Absolutely terrifying. I fought one when I was working on my my giant pyramid the other day, and so it made me think oh, is that what's happening here? I think it is, actually. And so, yeah, with that said, I think that maybe, just maybe, the most interesting bit of speculation, if we can really tie it in together here, is that maybe Minecraft is starting to see their drops not as being just every 3 months we do something, but as every 3-month drop has something planned for it. So, for example, the Copper Age update was a massive change to some existing section of the game, kind of like how they used to do with, I don't know, the Aquatic update or Never, just a lot smaller. So, if you're expecting to see some major change to, if I use my favorite example, Combat, or The End, or the Ancient City Portal, does that mean that it's the 3rd drop of the year you get excited for that? It's hard to say so far, but that is the thing that I am watching closest, and otherwise, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had been all last week I was I wanted to talk about Minecraft updates. I was excited to. On Monday I was I need to do this, but I figured we had to wait until we saw our first look at this drop, and so now it's all coming out in one big flow. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, where I've tried to condense it down as much as I can. I am amazed and excited at where Minecraft is going to be taking the drops this year, and I hope that they manage to fix the issues, because there are a lot of valid fears about where it could be going. But I think that having a actual consistent drop cycle where you know what's coming, major brand new feature in summer, update to existing feature in the autumn, new combat or content to actually dig your teeth into in winter, followed by more minor stuff in spring, that would be pretty cool. But we'll have to wait to see until next week and next Tuesday to know for sure. With that said, I hope we do see a fishing, trading, and structure update, but will that be the main theme of this one? I guess we'll have to wait. Thank you, and goodbye.